as 2024 comes to a close, we have another one of One Piece's usual traditions, as during Jump Festa of 2025, where they preview a bunch of upcoming anime, manga, and other stories for the next year, Oda usually releases his end-of-the-year announcement to us fans, and this year is no different, as he starts off the announcement with what is rightfully deserved, a very sentimental and just happy send-off to his friend Kazuki Yao, reminiscing about their time together, and just talking about looking forward to possibly working with him in the future again if he ever gets the chance.
No, and like you said, no matter where you go, we'll always be Nakama. You'll always be one of the crew. And yeah, he carried that torch for so long, he'll always have a special place in our heart.
Especially if the speculation is true that Oda just loved him so much as a voice actor that he creates a straw hat for him. That means a lot to be one of his 10 characters, helping him become the Pirate King. So, thank you, Kazuki Yao, and we hope you all the best in your own retirement for the time being.
Godspeed.
But he also does address a number of other things. This is 25 years that he's been creating the anime for this story. Talks about the opening of the store, a new app, before turning his attention to talk about his trip to South Africa, and why he cares so much about the live action, and why he's been so involved in the process.
I'm really excited for the live action. I had my doubts going into the first season, but I was really impressed, and I have friends who, they're like, I was never going to watch 1,000 episodes, but that helped them get into it, and I have people messaging me like, now I get it, now I see why you're so into this show.
It's a matter of, if you can bring this story to another medium, especially one that the Western culture is a lot more into than just animation, then why not spread the story more? And I just think Oda is somebody that's never gonna stop working. When you create a machine as big as One Piece, you're always gonna have something you can do.
And it's the fact that they still have their own little grittiness to it. It's got its own taste. There are little things they do differently and ways that they make it more dramatic with it being live action.
Also, I think fans would be a lot more upset if he wasn't so involved. This is a story that means so much to people that why not have the creator of the story have a hands-on direction with everything that goes on? Plus, it gave us Anaki, so I can't complain, because he is fantastic as Luffy.
Man, they're all fantastic. That casting department, stars.
Absolutely.
Killed it.
But that leaves us with the last part of the letter, and the one that we want to have the most discussion on, as he addresses what will happen in the coming year for the future of the manga, while talking about, we finally made it to Elbaph. It's honestly weird to say out loud.
Yeah, because, that's one of the biggest ones that we've had on the radar for years, decades. And we're there.
Yeah, no, it feels like fan fiction to be walking through Elbaph in these chapters, but we've waited long enough, so it's about time we finally get there. And he even comments on the same thing that we hear Louis Arnaud talking about in the chapter, with his warning that while everything seems laid back and fun for the time being, that's all going to be shattered very quickly by the arrival of a certain man.
Yeah, and I think we started to see that potentially in the 2 most recent chapters, with that lightning strike into the Western Castle.
Yeah, very likely that man is either Shanks' evil twin, or Shanks somehow pulling off the biggest mastermind I'm actually evil plan we've seen ever, which doesn't seem the likely of the 2 options, but with this writer, you can never discount a possibility.
No, always got to keep the options open. But then he also gives us even more on top of that not even just on Elbaph, but all across the world, crazy things are going to be happening. There's going to be natural phenomena that just can't be explained, which that could be the waters rising and creating unlivable environments. That could be something to do with the Blackbeard pirates going around and just wreaking havoc, maybe even getting a hand on one of the ancient weapons.
We could just see Imu using his little space laser over and over again as soon as he gets a power source.
Well, because they did get their hands on the Mother Flame, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
So, there's no reason to believe that they can't cause so much more carnage that it would reshape the entire geography of the planet. But then we come to what we like to call Oda's very vague description of a certain man doing something.
That man.
That we get pretty much every year. But the way he phrases it does make it sound a bit more unique, as he says that man will finally begin to stir up the world. And there's a few people that could be, but if you're talking about stirring up the world, I think that involves dismantling the world government that runs it.
Yeah, and especially when you also add in that finally, that tells me that we've been waiting, and there's just no one that I feel that we've been sitting here waiting with just nothing to go off of more than Dragon.
Absolutely. Since Logetown, we haven't even seen him do anything directly.
I mean, usually he just walks off and stares longingly into the sun.
He has his subordinates go out. They invaded Marie Joie.
Yeah, he'll call a meeting and then send them off to do his bidding, but he hasn't done anything.
No, and I think that part of the reason is, when you think about it from a retrospective perspective, he knows that if he dies, the revolution essentially dies with it. So he can't be risking himself on every mission. He can't be going out for things that don't matter as much. But if we are entering the final war where all factions are pretty much pinned against each other for the One Piece or for world domination, now's kind of the time to do something.
Yeah, and I mean, they've already started to poke the bear, where they're cutting off supplies to Marie Joie. They're starting to, I mean, they're getting ready to deal with the God's Knights coming after them. He's definitely not going to just sit on the sidelines once the full force of the government starts to retaliate.
I mean, we might have already seen the God's Knights out and about. If Shanks' twin or whatever, whoever's with him are God's Knights, he was talking before, he's like, we have to be afraid of the God's Knights. Yeah. I'm not too worried about the admirals, like, whatever, but those God's Knights. And if they're already out and in the same country as our crew, we're gonna have problems pretty soon.
Yeah, and I would assume there's more than just the two that showed up on Elbaph, so who knows?
I think Elbaph is officially going to be, and he says it at the very end of his announcement, kind of your last chance to catch your breath. It is going to be the last breather arc we get before all the chips are on the table, everyone is fighting, there's no chance to catch a breath, there's no long rest.
No.
You don't get to recover all your abilities and get your health points back. No, you gotta go and deal with everything now.
Yeah, get your potions ready. Shit.
So I think that is kind of his warning to say, I don't know how long Elbaph is gonna go, but once it's done, and once these outside forces, whether they be the God's Knights or Gorosei or other things, forcing us off of this island to confront other problems, that is going to be the real beginning of the final saga and the final war.
We're likely not going to have another banquet like we're beginning right now for a while.
It might not be till after we win the war.
It might not be till after we find the One Piece.
Maybe. The one island that's isolated enough that they can finally celebrate. But we wanted to give our thoughts on the Jump Festa announcement, and as Oda himself says, we're up for another super year of One Piece in the coming year.
Oh yeah.
So you guys let us know your thoughts on Oda's vagueness and who you think that man that will stir up the world will be. Like the video if you enjoyed this much briefer discussion on more of an offhanded point at the end of the year. Subscribe if you've just found our channel and enjoy this kind of content. And as always, be crew.